Welcome to the deep dive. Ready for a journey through time?
Always.
Okay, so today we're diving into the Cenozoic Era. And guess what?
What?
We're living in it right now. Crazy, huh? We're talking the age of mammals, the era that gave us the continents as we know them today, even those epic ice ages.
It really is amazing when you think about it.
I know. All that and more from these educational slides. I'm ready, Ria.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is the Cenozoic Era? I mean, besides being the one we're currently living through, obviously.
Well, imagine Earth's history as like a giant epic book, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
So the Cenozoic Era, that's the very latest chapter, the one that comes after the Mesozoic Era, the age of dinosaurs. And what makes the Cenozoic special? It's when mammals, birds, and flowering plants really took over. Their time to shine, you know?
Right.
And it's also when the continents, the ones we see on maps today, and those huge mountain ranges like the Himalayas, took shape.
Hold on, so all those continents, they weren't always where they are now.
Nope, not at all. They've been moving all over the place throughout Earth's history.
Continents just like drifting around, wild.
It's true, but it was during the Cenozoic that they drifted to where they are now, more or less.
I bet that had some pretty massive consequences for life on Earth, didn't it? All that moving around.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking changes to ocean currents, wind patterns, even global temperatures. Imagine islands forming, land masses connecting, then separating again. And all this time, life is trying to keep up, adapt to all these changes.
So it's a story of constant adaptation.
Exactly.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But you mentioned mammals taking over during the Cenozoic.
Yeah.
What happened to the dinosaurs? They were kind of a big deal back in the Mesozoic, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But then, about 66 million years ago, a mass extinction event happened. Wiped them out, the non-avian dinosaurs anyway.
Gone, just like that.
Pretty much. It's like someone just flipped a switch, and the stage was empty, ready for new stars.
And those stars were the mammals.
You got it.
So were they like waiting in the wings for their big break?
In a way, yeah. A lot of the early Cenozoic mammals were small, kind of like rodents, but they were super adaptable. It's like a giant buffet suddenly opens, and they were ready to try everything.
Smart.
Right. Over time, they evolved, diversified, took advantage of all those new opportunities. That's how we ended up with the amazing range of mammals we see today, from bats in the air to whales in the ocean, and of course, humans walking around on land.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. From those tiny creatures to giants like whales. That's one incredible evolution story.
It really is.
But you mentioned continents moving around, right?
Yeah.
What happened there during the Cenozoic?
Picture this. The Indian subcontinent moving slowly towards Asia. Boom! The Himalayas are born.
Wow.
And then over in Europe, Africa bumps into the continent, pushes up the Alps, and down south, Australia decides it's done with Antarctica and takes off on its own.
It's like a slow-motion continental dance.
That's one way to put it.
But I bet these events weren't just about shaping the land.
Right.
They probably influenced how life evolved, too.
Oh, for sure. These continental shifts created completely new environments. Mountain ranges appear, oceans change shape, climates go haywire.
Life had to keep adapting.
Exactly. Constantly adapting and evolving in new ways.
Speaking of wild changes, what about those ice ages? Weren't there times when, like, huge glaciers just covered massive parts of the planet?
You're talking about the Quaternary period, which had these cycles of glacial periods, or ice ages, yeah. But if we focus on the most recent one, the Pleistocene epoch, which, by the way, ended only about 11,700 years ago.
That recent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just imagine massive ice sheets covering like North America, Europe, and Asia.
So pretty recent, geologically speaking. What kind of impact did those ice sheets have? Do they just, like, make everything super cold?
It was way more than just a cold snap. Think about it. All that water locked up in ice meant sea levels dropped like crazy, exposing land bridges between continents. Yeah. Animals could literally just walk from one continent to another.
Whoa.
It was like a total reshuffling of life on Earth. And it wasn't just about, walking across continents. These ice ages put a lot of pressure on species to adapt, right?
Makes sense.
Those that couldn't handle the cold, well, they just didn't make it.
Survival of the fittest?
Right. But those that survived, they developed some pretty amazing strategies to cope with the cold.
Like what? Did they all just grow, like, super thick fur coats?
Some did. Woolly mammoths, for instance, those guys were basically walking fur coats. But adaptation comes in lots of forms, right?
Right.
And remember, we're talking about the rise of mammals during the Cenozoic. And mammals, they had some pretty cool tricks up their sleeves, so to speak.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Tell me about these mammal superpowers.
Well, one of their biggest advantages was their teeth.
Teeth.
Yeah. Unlike reptiles who have pretty much the same kind of teeth their whole lives, mammals evolved different types of teeth for different jobs. So some developed sharp, pointy teeth, perfect for, like, tearing flesh.
Hmm.
Think of your house cat, those canines.
Oh yeah, super sharp.
While others evolved broad, flat teeth, great for grinding up tough plants.
So they could customize their chompers to match their menu.
Exactly. And that let them take advantage of a wider variety of food sources, which was super important for their survival, especially with all those environmental changes we were talking about.
Makes sense. So teeth were a big deal. What else helped mammals thrive?
Well, size played a role too, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Some mammals went big, like bigger is better, you know. Think woolly mammoths roaming the icy plains.
Yeah, those were some big mammals.
But some stayed small and agile, darting around, finding those niches where the giants couldn't reach.
It's like they were playing evolutionary chess, each trying to outsmart the other.
Huh, I like that. And speaking of outsmarting, let's not forget about bats.
Oh, yeah, bats. They're amazing.
They took adaptation to a whole new level. They learned to fly.
Right, they're the only mammals that can actually fly. It's crazy. How do they even, figure that out?
It's a true marvel of evolution, you know? Their wings are basically modified hands with those long, thin finger bones supporting a thin membrane of skin.
Wow.
And that let them take advantage of a whole new world, literally. They could hunt insects in the air, escape predators on the ground, even travel long distances to find food or mates.
Talk about freedom. Okay, so we've got teeth, size, flight. Any other cool mammal adaptations we should know about?
Oh, tons. Think about those grasslands that started spreading during the Cenozoic.
Okay.
Mammals like horses and antelopes, they evolved long legs, slender legs, and hooves, perfect for running across those open spaces.
Makes sense.
They could cover huge distances, graze on all that grass, and, escape predators with speed.
So while all those continents were shifting and the climate was changing, mammals were busy becoming finely tuned machines,
Yeah.
right? Perfectly adapted to their environment.
Exactly. And another key adaptation, fur. Mammals developed fur for insulation, which was huge.
Right.
It let them regulate their body temperature, stay warm in those cold climates, even move into colder areas that reptiles couldn't handle.
Fur and a warm body, perfect for an ice age.
Right, so all these physical adaptations, plus their intelligence and ability to learn, adapt to new situations, that's what helped mammals conquer the Cenozoic. They really were the masters of their domain.
And of course, we humans are part of that story too, right? We may build cities and use smartphones, but we're still mammals, sharing that ancestry with those early mammals scurrying around when the dinosaurs disappeared.
It really is fascinating to trace our lineage back to those early days.
Yeah.
Our ancestors split off from other primates millions of years ago, and over time, we developed our own unique set of adaptations.
Like walking upright, using tools, developing language.
Exactly. And those adaptations, they allowed us to manipulate our environment, communicate and cooperate with each other in really complex ways, and ultimately become the dominant species on Earth.
But that dominance has come with a price, hasn't it? We've talked about the Anthropocene, that idea of a new epoch, recognizing the impact humans are having on the planet.
Yeah, you're right. And that's where the Cenozoic story takes a bit of a turn. As cool as the rise of mammals is, we can't ignore the impact of, well, one particular mammal, us.
Right.
So the Cenozoic isn't just a story of mammals taking over. It's also a story about how one species, humans, came to shape the planet in ways no other species ever has. And that's what we'll dig into when we come back for part 3.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey through the Cenozoic era, from those early mammals after the dinosaurs to the incredible diversity of life we see today.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it?
It has. But like we mentioned before, the story takes a turn with us, humans.
Right. The emergence of humans really changes the Cenozoic story.
Definitely.
We talked about how early primates evolved and eventually gave rise to hominids, our group.
The group that includes us and great apes, right?
Yeah. But what makes Homo sapiens so different?
Yeah, good question. Why have we had such a big impact on the planet when other hominids haven't?
Well, it's a few things, actually.
Okay.
Walking upright, for one, that freed up our hands to use tools to manipulate things.
Makes sense.
And we develop complex language, which means we can communicate and cooperate in really sophisticated ways.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, we developed this Amazing capacity for abstract thought, problem solving, innovation.
So we're basically a bunch of clever, upright apes with a talent for figuring stuff out.
hmm Yeah, pretty much.
Not bad.
And all those traits have had this like cascading effect.
Yeah.
They allowed us to, develop agriculture, build cities, and create technologies that have totally transformed our world.
But all that advancement, it's had consequences too, right? Good and bad.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the Anthropocene comes in, that proposed epoch that recognizes just how much we humans have changed the planet.
Hmm.
And the evidence is everywhere you look.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to miss.
We've altered the atmosphere, which has caused climate change. We've dammed rivers, cleared forests, introduced invasive species. We've basically reshaped ecosystems globally.
It's pretty mind-boggling when you think about it, the scale of our impact.
It really is.
It's almost like we've accidentally become caretakers of the planet, whether we're ready for it or not.
That's a great way to put it. The Cenozoic, it's an ongoing story, and the Anthropocene, if it becomes official, would be a whole new chapter.
Right.
One defined by, well, us, by human influence.
A chapter with lots of challenges.
Definitely. But also lots of opportunities.
So where do we go from here? What's next for the Cenozoic and for us?
That's the big question, isn't it? We have choices to make. We could keep going down this path of unsustainable practices that hurt the planet.
Not a great option.
No. Or we can use our intelligence and ability to work together to create a more sustainable future. It won't be easy, but the Cenozoic has shown us over and over again that life is amazingly resilient.
Adaptable.
Exactly.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about. We've seen how life has adapted and evolved to overcome all kinds of challenges.
For sure.
And as the dominant species of the Cenozoic, maybe, just maybe, we can learn from all that, embrace our role, and, steer the planet toward a future where both humans and nature can thrive.
I like that a lot. The Cenozoic really shows how resilient life is. And as we're entering this potential Anthropocene, we have the power to shape what comes next.
That's a great point. So we've journeyed through the Cenozoic, from the extinction of the dinosaurs, the rise of mammals, the continents taking shape, all the way to humans emerging on the scene. We've seen incredible adaptations, dramatic geological changes, and talked about the impact of our own species. And while we covered a lot of ground, remember, this is just the start of your exploration.
There's always more to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Cenozoic and our place in it, it's an ongoing story. So keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of our world. Who knows what amazing things you'll discover.